So, I've been a board game designer for a little bit, and recently I've been noticing the type of board game design advice that people are giving out is pretty skewed. It's skewed basically towards what to do if you want to sell 1 million copies of a game. But it's usually dressed up in stuff like, ooh, find the fun. Which sounds great and all, but what if your game isn't fun? What if you're making a horror game? What if you're making a game about a challenging topic? Should you find the fun in that? That might lead you in some weird directions that aren't really going to reinforce the message you're going for. And I was following this for a while. When I got started, I got my start back in like 2017, 2018, I think. I kept putting off actually starting designing a board game. I'd always wanted to do it, and I kind of just like flitted around the edges, just having tons of ideas. And then finally, I was reading all the blogs that people were putting out, just all the books, all the everything. And the one piece of advice that was like correct from all of this was just like start, just do it. So I did finally sit down and do it. And then I entered the Cardboard Artisan Award in 2018, and I ended up winning that year, which felt great, to be honest. But that's when stuff kind of started feeling odd as well. So after that, I felt a ton of pressure because I was like, well, I've won this award, and all the previous winners of this award have gone off and published their games and it's done great, and I've got to do that too. So then I started kind of following all the advice still and just figuring out how to do the pitching thing, and I started pitching to publishers, and I did all that. I signed 2 games with publishers. I went that whole route, and it was fine. I did it, and I don't know if I really want to do it again. And this is part of where all this is coming from. Just my experience is going through 2 different routes to this whole thing. One of them, the publishing route, pitching to publishers, getting your game developed by developers so that it has mass market appeal. And then the other route I went was at the PAX Unplugged Indie Games Night Market, I think in 2024, with my game Out of Swords. Which, hang on a minute, I have a copy of right here. Much smaller than my other games that were published by big publishers. And I made 50 copies of that one, and I had a great time. And it was the first time I felt like I actually got to design a board game fully, properly. Because previously it wasn't really designing, it was market research, product design, fitting an audience, all that stuff. And that's what a lot of the advice is geared towards nowadays. It's definitely changing. This isn't everyone, but like, so much of it is hustle culture adjacent, sell as many copies as possible, all your game ideas are bad and you're competing against thousands of other people. And like, that's a little bit irrelevant for a lot of people. So what I want to do is talk more about my journey into indie game publishing, and just provide a different perspective, and also kind of break down some of this advice a little bit, because I kind of hate game design advice. Most of it's lacking any real context, but I do think discussing what that advice's context is pretty interesting. And I think having people give that advice out gives good opportunities to talk about it and challenge assumptions and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how I'm going to be doing this whole thing. So yeah, this is a new little series I'm going to be trying, called Multiple Win Conditions, because there are multiple ways that we can go about all of this. Going pro, not. I don't really want to think about any of this in that context. And I think these indie markets that have been cropping up recently have been fascinating because, like, after the PAX Unplugged market in 2024, we wanted to do a similar thing over in Seattle at PAX West. So I was part of running all that and finding designers who were interested in taking part. And for context, these indie markets are basically people bring 20 to 50 copies of their game that they've made, something that maybe wouldn't sell more because there aren't thousands of people who are looking to play this weird little experimental game. Maybe there are, but who knows? But like a publisher's not going to take that risk at all. They're just not going to look at it. And also, like, maybe that's not even the point. Maybe you're not even trying to find a publisher to sell this to thousands of people. Maybe you do want to do this weird little game that only 50 people are gonna like. And so that's what these markets are for. Just getting it out there in some form, and actually getting it into people's hands outside of just because like posting it online, you can post some rules, but if it definitely feels different when you can actually talk to the people who are interested in this weird little game. That because all the games are about people, so like seeing people actually playing it and enjoying it and like actually experiencing what you have put out is great. But yes, when I was talking to people about the idea of this market, just telling them the concept, like you could see the possibilities lighting up in their eyes. Because so many designers, I run a playtest group here in Seattle, and I've seen so many designers like filter out really interesting ideas because they're already thinking about market fit and publishability and which publishers they know that are accepting pitches would want to look at that sort of thing because like so many publishers just aren't accepting pitches. So there's just all these filters that happen on these ideas that could be great and interesting and like bring something to the hobby and to people. It's just gone immediately before they can even get started. But as soon as we start talking about these markets, people are getting excited and pulling out these ideas that like they've had for years, and they're great. And some of them are weird and are just like one-time little gimmick things, but like that's perfect. Like it's that stuff is good. It's nice to have some variety, and especially in this format, you can do that. So yeah, it's not about lowering the bar or anything like that, but just like getting rid of the concept of there being a bar that needs to be cleared. That's pretty much it. I'm going to be doing this series. I'm going to be talking about what I'm working on, my thoughts on game design advice, just kind of putting it in its context and maybe tearing it apart a little bit, but not really. Just putting it in the context of there being multiple win conditions for this hobby and this art form, and I want to see more of that. And so I'm gonna try my best to do that. I'm gonna try my best to never give advice. This is always just gonna be how I think about things, and I would love to hear more people talking about the same sort of thing. Thanks so much. See you around.